And while it's kind of quiet and everybody's listening, I want to tell us stock classes. Anybody who's racing in a stock tire class, when your class is done or if you lose, please pull your car.
Safety crews working with Ty Scott. Had a bad crash earlier this week in qualifying. Bill Dennis of Glen Ellen, Virginia, crashed hard here in the trial, though he is now listed in fair condition here in the Halifax hospital. That's Daytona and the rest.
These guys are really keeping it. You gotta get on speed mine.
The owner of Bear Beverage, Anheuser-Busch distributor of Wausau, and his check for sponsorship for the 1982 Merrill Ice Drag.
I'd like to take this opportunity to give my check to Merrill Ice Drag of $500 this year, which is the third consecutive year we have been fortunate enough to assist the Merrill Ice Drag Association. And thank you for letting me be a participant in your program. Thanks a lot, Jerry.
I would like to thank Jerry Bell for the wonderful things that he's doing for us.
Every year, and we hope it stays this way. Thank you.
You work hard, they'll make you many responsibilities as far as the player. You learn many of the airport training.
Look, let me eat my hamburger. Now I can feel it. I know. I'm smiling. I know. It's fun for you, baby.
Good luck. 57, Scott Deals. 39 is Jim Mortz. 16 is Kelly Strike. 11 is John Schmidt. 54 is Roger. Frank Dewey. We're not sure about that. It might be David Sweetie. It's not Sweetie, though. We know that. But he's up here in his Ford out of Wausau today. Number 1, running Jim Mortz's Subaru in lane number 2. The first race of the stock tire class today. Was the winner in lane number 1 the first week, or the second weekend of racing. The first weekend, your winner is over there in lane number 2 right now. Or no, he finished second, Jim Mortz. The first weekend out, and they're going down there close, but it's Jim Mortz going through for the win, beating Bill Smith VW. Number 1 in his smooth-looking Vega Cruiser is Tom Westeen. And those guys got the lights on and they're off and running. Tom Westeen over in lane number 1 off there with a pretty good start. Leroy Toller's going to have to do some catching up with that dart today. Tom Westeen out there and rolling, doing a good job in lane number 1. Leroy Toller not getting anywhere over. They're having a tough time looking for some bite in lane number 2. And Tom Westeen goes through for the win. Bobby, the current leader. And over in lane number 1, we have Roger Ferns in that VW Beetle. And he'll be running Kelly Strikes. Rabbit is that, looks like, in lane number 2. Oh, it's a Scirocco, huh? Okay. Kelly. And the lights are up. And Kelly Strike off there to a little bit of a start. Roger Franz is going to have to do some catching up over there.
Drexel on anyway.
And it looks like Kelly Strike's down there and rolling with about a 2 or 3 car length lead in lane number 2 in that red Scirocco. And it is Kelly Strike going through for the win, beating Roger Franzen. In lane number 2, that smooth looking. out here many times, but that Rambler over there, Wagon, has got a real good start there. It looks like he's got about a half a car length lead. Myron Lobbs sliding around out there, but he is definitely ahead of Jim Clark's Olds. And he seems to be pulling away in lane number 1. Myron Lobbs going through for the win. Beating out Jim Clark's Olds. In lane number 1. And they're getting the sign the lights are on again. The fellas should be off and running. Unfortunately, it seems like John Smith is taking a nap in the Opel there, and he's going to have to get it in gear yet. Let's see if Grant can get that 52 Olds going as fast as this Freightliner runs. Oh, he's sliding around a little bit, going into the snow, got the tires turned. We can see that from here. And it looks like John Schmidt's doing a little catching up down there. Grant Peterson's going to have to get going in that old Olds. And Grant Peterson pulls a note on the top end there. Beating John Schmidt's Opel. Be sure to keep those windows rolled up. When you come up the line, your seatbelt's on if your car's got one, and keep those windows rolled up. The lights are off and running here. Tom Turner in the old Olds in lane number 2. In lane number 1, Scott Deals in the VW Squareback, a strong runner in this class. The first weekend out, Scott Deals in that red Squareback finished first, and he's off and running today. And it looks like Scott Deals is sliding around a lot, but he's really got a head of steam going as he crosses for the flag, beating out Tom Turner's Olds today. No, they have a little wipeout up there. David Tweedy. I didn't say Tweedy this week, folks. It's Tweedy, right? I'm going to come over there and pull out of here, Bruce. You too, Kurt. And the fellas are off. And David Tweedy doing a real good starting job out there in that little gray Mustang out of Wausau. Off to a good start over Brent Dewey's Mercury. Brent's going to have to do a lot of catching up there in lane number 1.
One of our cars that have those in-car cameras were
David Tweedy out there to a real good lead in lane number 2 and going through for the flag. The lanes are kind of evened up today. It looks like mostly it's the drivers that decide who's going to win today. And the last runner in the class, Tom Stockowitz in his Datsun over here in lane number 2. And he's waiting.
Hiya, Toby.
Jim Marks maybe here. Tom Stockowitz in his Datsun is over here in lane number 2. The lights are off, the fellows are running, and Richard Petty has just been involved in an accident at the Daytona 500. A comeback race for Petty, and the car looks real tough. We're not sure how Richard Petty is just yet.
We have another. Let's look again as we watch the.
And it looks like Jim Marks is off there to a 2 or 3 car length lead in his Subaru in lane number 1. Over Tom Stockwitz's Datsun in lane number 2, and Jim Marks does go through for the win. Comes up into lane number 1.
Neil Bond is up on the wall. There's another one sitting on the bottom there. That's the car with the blood. And there's the flames coming up Neil Bond's car. It's going along an outside wall. It's just a flash flame. There's Kyle Petty who's tucked in behind our camera car of Joe Rudman. And all very, very lucky, but it just shows the inadvisability of letting these old crops continue to run. Bond had been picked up and put in the ambulance. Let's go to Larry Newberg. Well, in the Richard Petty pit, Wade Thornburg is the lead.
And Tom Westeen goes through for the win. As
I don't know if he said he was okay to call the third lap. Then number 5 hit him in the rear, and he hit the head on into the...
52 olds. You two can hold an old classic. Myron Lobbs in that Rambler wagon. Richard Petty is weak as far as we... the lights are on and these fellows are off. Myron Lobbs off to a good start over Grant Peterson this time.
So it is a good report. The doctors, of course, are going to be busy here this afternoon, it looks like, and we will await Neil Bonnet coming in for his checkup. The field is running its 108th lap in the 106. A serious crash has demolished 4 of the serious contenders.
And Myron Lobbs goes through for the win, beating out Grant Peterson. 4 of the prime contenders for the Daytona 500 were taken out on this lap up into lane number 1. And he'll be running David Sweety's silver Mustang over there. Boys getting a good start. Sweety breaking loose a little bit as Scott Deals goes out to maybe a half a car length lead down there past the lights. And it looks like Scott Deals is taking off now over in lane number 1. He seems to be pulling away from Sweety's Ford. And now he's really turning on down there just before he crosses the line over a big bump down there. And Scott Deals goes through for the win, beating David Sweety.
Hard starting, hesitation, stalling.
Tire class today, and the lights are on. And it looks like Jim Moritz is going to have to do some catching up. He's got over a car length lead already over in lane number 2. Lane number 1 seemed awful fast last time near the top end, but Tom Westeen's not giving Jim Moritz a chance to catch him. He's rolling over there in lane number 2. Pulling away is Tom Westeen from Jim Moritz. And Tom will be running one of these 2 drivers for the trip. Lane number 1 will be Scott Deal, CW Squareback. And one of these fellows will be racing Tom Westeen. We want to right behind the trophy winner there to pick up to a real good start with his Rambler wagon over in lane number 2. Scott Deals has got a strong running Volkswagen Squareback there in lane number 1, but he's going to have to do a lot of catching up. Lane's looking pretty even today. We've had winners on both sides. Both boys sliding down there. As Myron Lobbs goes through for the win, beating out Scott Deals. And Myron will come around to run Tom Westeen for the trophy in the first stock tire class. And remember, when you got done running in that stock tire classes, please take your trucks up on top of the hill, out of the pits, or cars rather. We need the room down in there. When you finish racing, if you're running stock tires, please pull your cars up out of the pit area, up above the hill there, or down into the parking lot. The second class of stock tires today is Brian Zalke, Bob Busterud, Kevin Novak, Cindy Toombs, Richard Lane, Tom Muski, Robert Baum Sr., Mike Klemke, Mike Flieger, Tim Gruling, Roy Field, Chris for the trophy run in the first stock tire class today. Remember, the guys that finished second come back up to Grand Central Station. As Myron Lobbs having one in both lanes, and he'll be running that gray Vega in lane number 1.
Tom, either way you come back, first or second.
What a Vega, folks. A little paint, a little pipe.
Hold for the bill.
They're off and running, and it looks like an awfully close race here with Tom Westeen just a little bit out there in the lead, and now he seems to be pulling away. Richard Petty and Neil Bonnet have just gone into the track hospital down at Daytona. Richard Petty on his feet, but limping visibly. As Tom Westeen, not limping at all, is running real strong over in lane number 1 and goes through for the win and the trophy in the first stock tire class today. Buick is already waiting over in lane number 2. Let's get another car out here from that second stock tire class. Oops, we're waiting for the guys to come around, I guess, and get their trophy in their bottle of wine.
Hey, Jerry!
There's a friend of Myron Lobbs. Will you tell him to pick up his wine?
The trophy winner gets it?
And the second place finishers get that bottle of wine from Grand Central Station, but they won't have to drink alone because Jerry Bear is giving a six-pack away to the trophy winners today. So if anybody down there in the pits, Myron Lobs did not come up to pick up his bottle of wine unless he plans on walking up. We see his car moving through there. Maybe somebody could give a shout at him and tell Myron Lobs in that blue-green Rambler wagon to pick up his bottle of wine today for second place. We thank you. And we have Tom Westeen up here getting his trophy and six-pack. For a second place finish in the first stock tire class. And there goes Myron Lobs. Pulling up into lane number 1, we got Mike Klemke in the Chevy wagon. He'll be running today. There is one more stock tire class detail car today. On over here, Mike Klemke in lane number sideways over there. Mike Klemke slides. The lanes are pretty flicked up today. Mike Klemke off there got a good start, and he's off and running though in lane number 1, and it doesn't look like Tim Muski's going to be able to catch him. Mike Klemke going through for the win. We've got Chris Zemborski from Marathon. Second class of stock tires. The Lopar wagon. Robert Gall Sr. in lane number 1. Chris Zemborski in the Ford truck in lane number 2. And the lights are on. Yeah, for Chris Zemborski.
We have 8 cars running the lead lap as we get ready to resume. Again, it's Allison in front, McCarty in second, Ruttman with our camera line third, the 4th spot, Walter, the national champion from a year ago. Then
and Chris Zemborski.
Our son, forward on forward, custom over there in lane number 2.
Good start in lane number 1 in the Impala. Mark Grun's going to have to get that Ford rolling and do some catching up. Neil Bonnet, one of the drivers injured in the 4-car pile-up a couple of minutes ago, is conscious now. He is talking incoherent. We have Roy Thiel go through for the win in lane number 1, beating Mark Grun's 4-door Ford Custom. In lane number Bustridge's wagon. And in lane number Bob Busgood in lane number 1. Mike Flieger in lane number 2. Flieger, a winner the first weekend out in that yellow wagon. And Bob Busgood seems or so getting a little shaky down there, but Mike Flieger's going to have to do a lot of catching up as it looks like. Bob Busgood's pulling away in lane number 1 in a big Chevy wagon. And Bob Busgood crosses the line, a car length or 2 ahead of Mike Flieger. Got a little bit of a start there over Kevin Novak. Both guys getting off the slow run through the center. Richard Lang getting a little, seems to be holding on to a car length lead. And now Richard Lang seems to be pulling away in that red Camaro.
Where Bob Fishman and Bob Sender are doing such a remarkable job of bringing you this one of the most difficult sports.
And Richard Lang's red Camaro goes through for the win.
Here has been to first.
Number 2. Cindy Toombs is ready in that black Ford out of Westboro. And the lights are on. Tim Grulich, a good start. Cindy sitting on the sliding around down down there as she crosses the light. Tim Grueling sliding over in lane number 2, but he's not slowing down. It looks like Tim Grueling all the way going through for the win and pulling away from Cindy Dooms' Black Ford pickup out of Westboro.
Both cars slid into the infield and bumped. One is going back out immediately. As Brian Golke comes up into lane number 1. And he'll be right with two.
Start there. We thought it was Brian Golke coming away from the start, but Mike Klemke's got his wagon rolling, and he seems to have taken over the lead as they pass the light. Out of Marathon in lane number 2, a real close race here. It looks like Roy Field's out there by a car length, both sliding around a little bit. Roy Field moving strong down there. Looks like he's holding on to his lead, maybe stretching a little bit as Roy Field goes through for the win, beating Chris Zemborski.
Here he is. Good safety gave him
Number 1. And he'll be running Richard Lang's Camaro over in lane number 2.
Hey, Brenda.
Bob Buskerud in lane number 1. Richard going down through there with a good start and seems to be keeping Martha going over there in lane number 1. Martha's just getting after it. And look at Martha go. I had a girlfriend like that once. Bob Huster going through for the win, beating Richard Lang. To run Jim Grueling's Olds over in lane number 2. The lights are on there, and it looks like Tim Grueling off to an early lead. Mike Klemke's going to have to play a little catch-up down there. It looks like he's trying, but he's just not hooking up. He's doing a little sliding around down there through the middle. Tim Grueling motoring right along over in lane number 2. And Tim Grueling going through for the win, beating Mike Klemke. In lane number 1. Bob Buskerud in lane number 2. Close racing. Looks like Roy Field by a bumper. Both drivers sliding around down there. It looks like Roy Field by a car length down as they get closer to the flag. And Roy Field looks up and takes off. And Roy Field goes through for the win, beating out Bob Buskerud. Well, maybe him and Martha will come back next week. His name is Salzgeber or something. No, Salzgeber. How's that sound? I don't know. It's Salzgber. Pretty strange if you ask me. Roy Field's over in his favorite lane, lane number 1. Tim Grueling's where he's been winning over in lane number 2. Running for the trophy in the second stock tire class today. The lights are on. Remember, he who finishes first not only wins the trophy today, but he gets a six-pack of good old Budweiser beer. Courtesy of Jared Bear, Anheuser-Busch distributor of Wausau. And it looks like Tim Grueling's off there, got maybe a front fender out in front of Roy's Impala. Looks like a real close race. And Roy Field going through for the win, beating Tim Grueling. 23 is Brian Float, 48 is Peggy Zastrow, 35 is Gary Gilly, 58 is John Witchy, 38 is Gary Weber, 19 is Larry Hinkleman, 31. going to have to shovel snow or push anybody out right here. Right deal, first place winner in the Stock 2 tire class today. And there goes Tim Grove. Joe Rutland out of California, just pressed.
All right, Jim, you look good there.
You're welcome. Just going up and passing, taking over first place, passing Rutland. And Joe Rutland is a camera car today and having a real tough time hanging out of his car as he's going through the turns at Daytona. The lights are on, and we're ready to race. In Merrill, Wisconsin today at the 1982 Merrill Ice Drag. It's John Wicke in lane number 1. Lane number 2 is Kelly Marquardt. And it looks like a real close race down there. John Wicke sliding around a little bit. I think Kelly's off to maybe a car length start now. John Wicke sliding some more into the snow. John Wicke sliding around again. Kelly Marquardt going through for the win. His first dip. The lights are on, they're off and running. Kerry Gilly's got those horns out in front. And the whole car, in fact, is ahead of Larry Enkelman in the commercial. Kerry Gilly is going to pour it on down there and make his long-lost Uncle Mickey proud. Oh, there goes Kerry Gilly sliding a little bit down there. Oh, Larry Enkelman sliding a little more. And Kerry Gilly runs through there just a little bit ahead of Larry Enkelman. Maybe those horns on Peggy's Astros, little Pinto Cruiser wagon in lane number 2. Max Peterson off to a real good start in lane number 1. Peggy's Astros going to have to get that Pinto Cruiser wagon going down there. Max to the big Toronado, I believe it is, in lane number 2, or number 1 rather. And there goes. Anybody who's got a little extra gasoline, we got somebody needs some up here today. Mr. Lentner needs a little gasoline for that. As Chris Weiland in that big full-size Chrysler two-door there takes off, and wow, Mike Hanlon's getting snaky and shaky with that old wagon over in lane number 1. Chris Weiland off there with a good lead in lane number 2. And it is Chris Weiland going through for the win, beating Mike Hanlon. And in lane number 2, he'll be running Gary Weber's Impala. They got the top end cleared up there, and the drivers are getting the sign from TV up there on the light switch, and the lights are on. Gary Weber doing a little spinning over there. It looks like Jeff was a real close race of it today. Jeff Logomone in lane number 1. Gary Weber in lane number 2. Gary Weber sliding around a little bit over there now, but boy, those guys are running neck and neck. Gary Weber maybe by a nose in lane number 2 as he keeps on sliding, seems to be pulling away. And Gary Weber going through for the win, beating out Jeff Logomone. I'm going to tackle that last name again. But then again, some people really don't care what I think. Anyhow, DP gives them the sign. The guys are on the line, and the lights are on. They're off and running. Bruce has got his big Cadillac Eldorado over there just to spinning them front tires. As Brian Close goes on, it looks like he's got a little bit of head start. He's good-looking Camaro over there in lane number 2. But Bruce seems to be catching up down there now. It's going to be a real close race. It looks like maybe Bruce is pulling ahead. He's got his big Eldorado moving now. And it is Bruce out of Edford in his big red and white Eldorado going through for the win. Here's Firebird in lane number 1. In lane... And Dave's cheering section goes wild as he pulls off there with the start, but Langbecker's not letting him run too far over in lane number 1. It looks like Larry Langbecker's got maybe a bumper or two out in front there. Larry Langbecker having a real good day in the stock tire class in that fire, but really got it running today. Been having a lot of trouble before. And Larry Langbecker goes through for the win, beating out Dave Buck. Last week, he's back here again with those bullhorns on the front of that Dodge Charger in lane number 1. In lane number 2, and our little gremlin is Kelly Marquardt. And Kelly going off to the early lead right. He found a good luck charm with the horns on the front of that Dodge today. He seems to be doing a real good job. Yeah, it looks like Kelly was catching up until he started doing a lot of sliding right there, it looked like. Jerry Gilly going through for the win, beating Kelly Marquardt. For Chris.
All you do work for you. That's why the Wrangler class, comfortable clothes for tough customers.
So, and the lights are on. The guys are off and running. It looks like Max Peterson over there in lane number 1's got a pretty good start. Chris Weiland's going to have to do some catching up. Max is already out there, a car length or so coming off the line. He's not giving that Olds a chance to slow down. He's motoring on through there. Looks like Max all the way as he seems to stretch his lead down there through the middle, and Chris Weiland can't seem to catch up in lane number 2. And it is Max Peterson going through for the win, beating Chris Weiland. Oh, he's serious. Bruce Goldberger, which is not the way this word is spelled here. Goldberger. Well, I'm reading half of this and half of the other one. Goldberger. And Gary Weber was over in lane number 2 there as those guys are off and running, and it looks like Gary Weber's got a little bit of a start. Second place, the first week out was Gary Weber. And he's rolling on today. And Gary Weber going through for the win, beating out Bruce Gelsgaber. Billy again in that blue Charger with the big bullhorns on the front. He's going to be racing Larry Langbecker's Firebird over in lane number 2. Gary's been doing real good today, and he's been a strong finisher in this second stock tire class all year. And it looks like Larry Langbecker's out there and running in that Firebird in lane number 2. Gary Gilly's going to have to get after that Charger in lane number 1. Gary Gilly got a first and a second already this year, but today he gets beat by Larry Langbecker's Firebird. Here, it should be Gary Weber coming down in that brown Impala to race Max Peterson, and one of these guys is going to be running Larry Langbecker for the trophy today. And the third, we'll call up the first 5 coming up. Line them up. You'll be racing shortly. Gary Weber brings that brown Impala up onto the line in lane number 2. Max Peterson in that white Olds in lane number 1. And one of these fellows will be running Larry Langbecker for the trophy today in the third class of stock tires today. Looks like Max is off there, maybe got a bumper or close to a fender start out there in lane number 1, and he's rolling along. Gary Weber doing a little sliding around, a lot of sliding on. You can't make time that way. He seems to get that car going pretty good on the top end. Let's see if he can catch Max. And he does. Gary Weber going through for the win, overcoming a good lead there by Max. To do it now in lane number 1. for the trophy in the third class of stock tires today. One more time, we'll call up the first class. You're just running your stock tires. Please pull your cars up when you get. I'm not sure they have quite enough room down there in the pits yet. And there we've got them lined up for the trophy in the stock 3-tire class today. Gary Weber in lane number 1. Larry Langbecker in lane number 2. They're off and running. Gary Weber having a lot of trouble pulling away. We don't know whether he was just on some real slippery stuff there or if he was taking a little dose, but Gary Weber just couldn't get that, didn't get away from the line at all, and Larry Langbecker going down for an easy win. Gary Weber choked off there, trying to come out a little too easy. Larry Langbecker going through for the win in the stock 3-tire class today. Sponsors of the 1982 Merrill Ice Drags are Touche Enterprises, Ross Record Service, Grand Central Station, KB Body and Paint, Beacon Bar, Park City Credit Union, Taylor's Body Shop, B&D Motors, Merrill Manufacturing, Livingston's Department Store, Grits Appliance Center, Miller Home Furnishings, John's United Foods, Bruce's Coverall, Russell, Rabin, and Celeste Attorneys, Merrill, Shopper, and Photo News, Don's 3rd Street Liquor, Shoulders, Ford Mercury, Bob's Union 76, Schultz's Wrecking, Fowler's Drugs, Regic's Riverside Club, First Place Trophy and Awards to Wausau, Schneider's Bar, Beer Beverage, you saw Jerry Beer a few moments ago there. A real good sponsor for the 1982 Merrill Ice Drag. There. Take it a little easy there. Somebody could get hurt when that stuff starts falling down, okay? We got a roustabout over there. I didn't know there was a circus in town. Maybe that or he's part monkey. I don't know which, but he was right up there, huh? And there goes Larry Langbecker, the trophy winner in the 3rd class of stock tires today. And right behind him, shortly, there goes Gary Webb, Gary Bear for your sponsorship. Chico's Restaurant of Wausau, Frisch's Bar, Westside TV, and Meat Market Package Service, Skipper's Restaurant, Cork and Tank Transport Oil, Jim Service, Emet and Sons Incorporated, Park City Liquor. We also want to thank Jerry Bear for the 6-packs that go to the winning drivers today. So the 2nd place finishers don't have to drink alone. They can bring their Scramblers. Rick Genrick out of Gleason in lane number 2. It looks like that Scrambler's off and running. Mark Mance is going to have to do a little catching up in lane number 1. And he does. Mark Mance catches up and passes Rick Genrick's Scrambler. It's off to a good start. Both guys sliding around a little bit. Maybe Dakins looks like he's doing a little catching up down there now. But Mike Raynard is off and running. Oop, and there goes Dakins into the snow as Mike Raynard goes through for the win. I don't know, if I'm not mistaken, I think Craig Dakins gets... And at lane number 2, we got top. And the lights are on. Those guys are off and running, coming out pretty even. But it looks like Jeff Austin got a little bit of a... And at lane number 2, we got top. And the lights are on. Those guys are off and running, coming out pretty even. But it looks like Jeff Austin got a little bit of a start over there in lane number 1, and he's off and running. Craig Schultz is going to have to do some catching up. But not today. It's Jeff Austin going through for the win. CJ7. Little gray and white CJ out of Marathon. Lee Nybauer in lane number 2. They got the sign, the lights are on.
Average speed in the last lap, when you went all the way around the racetrack in these cars, was 191.5 miles an hour.
And it looks like Lee Nybauer off and running, got a good start. And 148, we believe, is Dave Duchesne. Another guy can get his out to race. Carl Benke, you race in the last class of trucks today, but be sure and stand by. The guy you got parked in races in the next class, and he sure would like to get out. As Dave Duchesne gets out to a good start coming out of lane number 2. Roger Brooks is going to have to do some catching up there in the top end. Dave Duchesne doing a good job in lane number 2. Roger Brooks pouring it on in lane number 1. But it's Dave Duchesne going through for the win. Number 2 will be Jim Eastrake. This class, everybody's been reading the board real good, and their trucks are lining up now. And I'm sure most of the guys are ready to race. But the second class is Jerome Grun. 143 is Ernest Weisskopf. 135 is Tom Reddens. 141 is Randy Schmidt. 102 is Greg English. 142 is Jeff Wernslick. 115 is Kent Schleif. 124 is Gary Osnes. 119 is Mike Zentner. 133 is Rod Zick. And 131 is Mark Black. And the guys are off and running over here. Jim Eastrake in lane number 2 got a good start in that Blue Eagle wagon. He's off and rolling, and Joe Martino Subaru is going to have to do a lot of catching up there. He's getting a real good start and off and flying as Jim Eastrake going through for the win, beating Joe Martino. And the lights are on. Mike Reinhardt spinning, and Mark Mass is off and moving in lane number 2. Reinhardt getting a little shaky down there through the middle. And it looks like a real close race yet between Mike Reinhardt in lane number 1 and Mark Mass in lane number 2. And Mark Mass going through for the win, beating that strong running log truck of Mike Reinhardt. And with everyone over there, lane number 1. In lane number 2, the lights are off and running. Trying to find some place to get some bites. Jeff Austin hanging right on over there in lane number 1. But now Jeff Austin sliding around quite a bit. Let's see if Nybauer found his traction. But not quite. Jeff Austin going through for a win, beating out Lee Nybauer. Jim. Already over there, that brown CJ Eagle, and through the middle. It looks like possibly Jim Eastrake in lane number 1 is out to a little bit of a lead now. It's still a close race, but it is Jim Eastrake going through for the win, beating out Dave Duchesne. Wheel drives today. Ready to go. It's Jeff Austin in lane number 1. Mark Mass in lane number 2. A couple of CJs off and running. One of these fellows is going to race with Jim Eastrake for the trophy in the first class of four-wheel drive today. And it looks like Jeff Austin off to a real good start. But now Mark Mass is coming on. It looks like Austin's still, Austin sliding a lot, but it looks like he's still in the lead by a hair or 2. Mass is coming on strong on the top end, but it's Jeff Austin going through for the win. Number 1. strike is off and running over there. Jeff Austin getting a little sneaky down through the stretch, but Jeff Austin pulls it out on the top end. Nosing out Jimmy Strike. And the green and white blazer, we have Jerome Grund, or Jimmy rather, sorry, Jerome Grund out of Merrill. And in the first runners in the second class of four-wheel drive today. There's four-wheel drive classes altogether. Then we've got 4 bike classes. The guys are off and running. Jerome Grund got a good start over there. Yeah, there's 2 nail classes yet today. Jerome Grund off and running. Randy Schmidt's going to have to get that scout going and do a lot of catching up over there in lane number 1.
I like it. And right now, to get you to try
Jerome Grund sliding around a lot, but going through for the win, beating out Randy Schmidt.
I really like that.
We have Steve Gomes from Medford in a blazer. Mike Bettner in lane number 1 in his GMC step side. Steve Gomes in his blazer out of Medford in lane number 2. And it looks like Mike Zentner is getting a real good run down there. Steve Toombs seems to be catching up in the straight, but no, it's Mike Zentner down there for the win, beating Steve Toombs. And in lane number 1, we have Rod Zick in his GMC. Yep, Ernest Weisskopf in that Dodge in lane number 2. Weisskopf out there to a good start over Rod Zick. Rod Zick in lane number 1's going to have to do a lot of catching up. And it is Ernest Weisskopf going through for the win, beating out Rod Zick. Jeff Wenslick with a Gary's been a strong runner out here. Finished second the first weekend out. Gary Osmith in lane number 1 in the Ram Charger. In the Bronco, Jeff Wenslick. And they're getting the sign. Jeff Wenslick in lane number 2. Gary Osmith in lane number 1. The lights are on, the guys are off and running, and it looks like Jeff Wenslick off to the early lead. He's doing a lot of sliding around, though. Let's see if Gary Osmith over in lane number 1 can catch up there in the stretch. Woo, there. Jeff Wenslick's doing a lot of sliding around, bouncing off the snowbank. First one and then the other. But he hasn't slowed up yet. But Gary Osmith caught him. Jeff Wenslick sliding around a lot, and he couldn't keep going forward fast enough for Gary Osmith. And Brad Truax yet. And Opeka bringing his Bronco up into lane number 2. In lane number 1, Greg English, and won the week before. And they're getting the sign. And the lights are on. A couple of old-style Broncos. Ken Opeka in lane number 2. Greg English in lane number 1. And Ken Opeka is off to a good start over there in lane number 2. Let's see if he can keep her out of the snowdrifts fast enough to beat Greg English. But Opeka doesn't seem to have any trouble as he goes through for the win, beating Greg English. Brad Truitt out of Marathon in the step-side Dodge over in lane number 2. And the guys are getting the sign. Brad Truax in lane number 1. In lane number 2, Mark Black, the black sheet that says in the Dodge Marquee, running strong. Brad Truax seems to be pulling away as he slides around. And he's still pulling on. Brad Truax going through for the win, beating off Mark Block. And in lane number 2,
Here in the Daytona 500, there are just 19.
the lights are off. A couple of Ram Chargers out there and running. And it looks like Tom Razins has got the early lead. Kent Schleif is hanging right in there in lane number 1. Tom Razins going through for the win, beating Kent Schleif. And Jerome Grund in his Jimmy comes up into lane number 2.
That's why I use Speed Stick Super Dry as a Pittsburgh. The wide stick. That's a protection with more dryness and helps fight wetness. And it goes on dry so you can dress right away. So get on the stick. You can get dressed right away.
They're off and running, and Jerome Grund gets a little bit of a start there. Mike Zentner coming out slow, just cutting away from the line. And it looks like Jerome Grund has got a real good start and rolling in lane number 2. As Mike Zentner starting to slide over in lane number 1. And it is Jerome Grund bouncing hard, but going through for the... And he'll be running Ernest Wade's... And the lanes are clearing up there. Gary Austin in lane number 1. Ernest Weisskopf in lane number 2. They're getting the sign. The lights are on. And they're off and running. And it looks like Gary Austin is another real good start down there. But Ernest Weisskopf is staying right with him, coming away from the line. And Ernest Weisskopf sliding down there as he passes the speakers. But it looks like Ernest Weisskopf is caught up. He's running strong in lane number 2. But not strong enough. Gary Austin is going through for the win. And lane number 2.
He didn't come around. I just seen him walking up here now.
And the guys are getting the sign. The lights are on. Pulling away, it looks like it's bumper to bumper. Passing the lights. Both fellows, strong runners all here, both sliding down there as they pass the speaker system. It looks like Opik has got just a little bit of a nose maybe out there, but Brad Truax is coming on strong, and Brad Truax going through for the win, beating Ken Opik off. Number 1, and he'll be running. Tom Razins comes out of line hard there. He really hooked up good in that Dodge Ram Charger in lane number 2. Jerome Grund's going to have to do a lot of catching up, and all he's doing is sliding so far in lane number 1. Tom Razins going through just a smoking in lane number 2 for an easy win for him. He's beating Jerome Grund today.
Certainly we owe a great debt of thanks to Dale Evans, Joe Ryan, Jim Casey, and their entire crew for the time they've allowed us in getting that camera set up and getting those
Brad Truax in lane number 1. Gary Austin in lane number 2. Oops, got to back up. Number 1. Gary Austin in lane number 2. And it looks like Brad Truax is out there and pulling away in lane number 1. And Brad Truax is rolling down through there. As Brad Truax going through for the win, beating Gary Austin. going through for the win. The fellow likes to keep his window down. Tom Raz is the winner of the last class. John Allen comes up into lane number.
My hands hurt. I go mine away. I was come up the border the other night when
They're all
the guys come out there when I
in
figured
lane
you couldn't
number
handle
1.
it.
Pat Hinner in lane number 2. The first race of the third class, the four-wheel drive. And it looks like a close one, but Pat Hinner should be out in the lead the way it looks from here. And Pat Hinner goes through for the win. Yeah, we're in that black power wagon in lane number 2. Lane number 1, Bruce Schultz. The light getting the sign. The lights are on. And those guys pouring out of there, just coming out. Looking for a lot more traction than what I think is there, but Wayne Gabber seems to be off and running in lane number 2. And he's sliding down there. Let's see if Bruce Schultz can catch him. Bruce is doing a lot of sliding, but he couldn't get down there fast enough as Wayne out of Medford goes through for the win. Comes up in lane number 1. Brian Green out of Medford. Another good-looking truck running up for Medford. You guys are bringing over that truck this year. We just saw that black Dodge run. Here we got a black and silver Ford. And he'll be running Rick Henner step-side Chevy over here in lane number 1. The guys are off and running.
Looking good. He's going up on car number 2. The Russell car went down in the final moment.
And both trucks slide, hitting the snowbanks down there pretty hard and pouring it on. Brian Spring goes through for the win, beating Rick Hinner. And also, ladies and gentlemen, the checkered flag is about to come out for the Daytona 500. Gary Verhoffelt in lane number 2. In lane number 1, Doug Meyer.
He's showing his third.
A couple of long box Fords over there. Doug Meyer in lane number 1. Gary Verhoffelt in lane number 2.
Now you're back. Bobby Allison as he turns.
And Gary Verhoffelt going through for the win. Number 2. Daytona 500. Ellis Wentz comes up with his black short box Ford in lane number 1. Ellis Wentz in lane number 1. Carl Benke in lane number 2. A couple of short box Fords. The lights are on.
Terrific crash in Charlotte, North Carolina last year in the World Cup.
And it looks like a real close run right now. Carl Benke getting a little snaky there, but he seems to be maybe got a bumper out in front of Ellis Wentz in lane number 1. Carl Benke in lane number 2 doing a lot of sliding. Ellis is coming on strong, but Carl Benke going through for the win.
What has been rocket ship now, 3,000.
Got to be in the center, right?
Dave Zick out of Wausau in lane and number. He's in lane number 2. lane number 2. Lane number 1 is Dave Zick. And it looks like William Rice may have a little bit of a lead down there getting into the middle. Both guys running strong yet, but it looks from here like William Rice is pulling away there toward the top end, and William Rice goes through for the win. 1. In lane number for the snowmobilers to get out of the way. Ground over in lane number 2.
And we'll be back with more in just a moment. When backwoods smoke gets it down, looking wild but caved in.
Left front in lane number 2. In lane number 1, sliding around, but well, both guys sliding around there as Les Grun slides down there in the middle. Looks like a real close race. Maybe Cook's got a little bit of a lead down there. And Steve Cook. The lights are on and Darwin Harris off to a good start over in lane number 2. Pat Hitter's sliding around and can't seem to get any traction down there in lane number 1. And it is Darwin Harris going through for the win, beating Pat Hitter. Wayne Gell trucks coming up from Michigan here to run on the ice. Brian Spreen in that Ford in lane number 1. Wayne Gellsgabber came off hard this time, and he's not backing out now. Just a foot right in that little black Warlock as he takes off in lane number 2. He seems to have the lead right now. Both trucks doing a little bit of sliding as Gellsgabber pulls away as he bumps into another snowbank. And it's Wayne Gellsgabber going through for the win. Carl Benke, the short box Ford out of Edgar in lane number 1.
He gave us such a great race back in the 90s. Well, he's talking about the goal and probably out of the goal. He's got 4 on the first night the rest of the day. He was about 300 feet in front of the second place the rest of the day. He came in a whole lot for the rest. He didn't go to the back back to the rest. He came in a whole lot. It was by 22 and 8. That's what we did. We're going to see this carrying out well in second spot. Joe Russell.
Danny, it's almost 3 o'clock. Yeah, they're going the other way, though. Carl Benke in lane number 1. In lane number 2, Gary Verhoffel. Gary Verhoffel coming out pretty good there in lane number 2 and off to a start as Carl Benke starts to slide over in lane number 1. Looks like Gary Verhoffel all the way there. Carl Benke's going to have to do some catching up. But it's Gary Verhoffel rather going through for the win, beating Carl Benke. On the ice, we've just been told that they've got somebody up there that's got the roadblocks off. The mill's starting to fill up. So we know we asked everybody to leave the pits when they got done racing, but now we're going to ask you to stay because you can't get out even if you wanted to. Steve Cook in that GMC over there in lane number 1. And William Rice's GMC pickup is moving right along over in lane number 2, and it looks like he's out in front there by a couple truck lengths of Steve Cook in lane number 1. And it is William Rice beating Steve Cook. Darwin Harris in lane number 1, or number 2 rather. And this is Wayne Galsgabber. And the lights are on, the guys are off and running. And boy, Wayne Galsgabber really coming off the line hard there. Darwin Harris is a little easier off the line, but he's looking for more traction. It's a close race. Galsgabber seems to be catching up in this stretch, and it's Wayne Galsgabber going through for the win, beating Darwin Harris. A strong William Rice again comes up into lane number Galsgabber in that black. And it looks like Gary Verhoffel's got his Ford rolling over in lane number 2. He got a good start off there, and he seems to be out about 2, maybe 3 car lengths and pulling. William Rice is going to have to get that little GMC rolling in lane number 1. He seems to be pulling up, but is it enough? And it's not today. Gary Verhoffel going through for the win, and he'll come around and run Wayne Galsgabber for the trophy for the 3rd class of 4-wheel drive. Is Mark Sabaki, 139 is Scott Vandergeest, 114 is John Gassner. In that black Dodge, the Warlock 2, and he's got his foot in it, and Galsgabber's into the snow, but he's off there and running again. Galsgabber's sliding a lot down through there. Let's see if Verhoffel can catch up to him while he's sliding. Not today. Wayne Galsgabber out of Medford going through for the win. Class of 4-wheel drives is Ron Haas, Mike Brettel, Bob Akers, Dennis Yorty, Eric Ross, Mark Sabaki, Scott Vandergeest, John Gassner, Mark Winkleman, and Ron Fahn. Some of the sponsors for this year's ice drags are Touche Enterprise, Central Station, KB Body and Paint, Beacon Bar, Park City Credit Union, Chambers Body Shop, B&B Motors, Merrill Manufacturing, Livingston's Department Store, Griffith, Park City Liquor, Joe's Standard, Al's Body Shop, Stevers Country Way, Lee's Mobile, Mars Rider, Owasso, Social and Stick Bar, East Sales and Service, Church Mutual Insurance, Motor Service and Supply, Schneider Distributing, AJ Enterprises, Dennis Pike, Glenn's Bar, Stillman, Shell, Drew Supermarket, Bill Falk's Guns, Jeff Locomotive from Locomotive Farms, Cater's Corners, Lana Queen's Pizza, Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, Mobile Chef out here at the Lunch Wagon today, Carl's Liquor Store, Merrill Fire and Ambulance, High Rebel, Wausau, All Car Wausau. Here goes Wayne Galsgabber out of Medford, the winner in the 3rd class of 4-wheel drive today. And there goes Gary Verhoffel, the 2nd place finisher in the last class of 4-wheel drives today. And in the Bronco, Ron Fahn. And in lane number 2, Mark Winkleman. And while we wait for the first runners in the 4th and last class of 4-wheel drives today, we'll finish up the sponsor list. And this Optic in lane number 1 in that yellow Bronco. In the brown Bronco, Mark Winkleman over in lane number 2. So no Valentine cars being sent between each players today, Bill. You know, it's funny, there's 2 strong guys on the course, and they dropped him up for any 8 guys out there. And Steve Rogers did see, I got it right hand, and Johnny's left-handed. Steve fouls right now. And it looks like Dennis Yorty's off there to a good start. We'll see if Ron House can catch up to him there in the top end of the stretch. Ooh, Yorty is doing a lot of sliding around there. If Ron Haas is picking up any time, it's now. But Dennis Yorty goes through for the win. Scott Vandergeest in the blaze. And the lights are on. Mark Zabacki twisted coming off the line. Scott Vandergeet's getting a good start over there, but Zabacki's got his foot down in that Bronco, and he's pulling away. Looks like maybe a truck length out there, but Scott Vandergeet is hanging on. He can still catch him in the stretch up there, but it seems like Mark Zabacki's pulling away now that he got up on the top end there. And Mark Zabacki does go through for the win. Number 1. And in lane number 2, we got John Gaffner, Bronco. This one for sale too, Bob? Oh, Anchors can't hear us in his little blue truck up there. He's been in a tall grill in the past week. The lights are on there, ready to go. Bob Anchors in lane number 1 in the blue, rusty, trusty Chevrolet. And a good-looking Bronco with John Gaffner's over in lane number 2 trying to catch up. It looks like Bob Anchors is off to a good start there, and John Gaffner's doing a lot of sliding around. He's going to have to get her straightened out to go. It looks like a tie. Yep, we got a tie today. First tie between John Gaffner and Bob Anchors. Try and leave it standing and not jump up. And we got Bob Anchors running. Oh. Bob Anchors in lane number 1. John Gaffner in lane number 2 trying to run off their tie. They're getting a little edgy, trying to get the hedge there as they both come off for a tie, the first one today. And they're off and running once again. And this time it looks like Gaffner got a pretty good start. He's out there and running, got a length already as they cross the lights. On Bob Anchors in that blue Chevy in lane number 1. John Gaffner off and running. And John Gaffner going through for the win, beating Bob Anchors. Eric Ross comes up into lane and straightens up Dodge. Oh yeah? And Eric Ross looks like he's off to a little bit of a start. Let's see if Mike Merrill can catch up there in the stretch. Both guys doing a little bit of sliding there. They're still close as Eric Ross sliding all over. If Merrill's keeping his truck straight, he's cutting the distance. And Mike Merrill goes through for the win, beating out Eric Ross. Jordy comes up into lane number 1, and he's going to be running Mark Winkleman's Bronco over here in lane number 2. And the lights are on. And it looks like Jordy's off to a pretty good start over in lane number 1. Mark Winkleman in lane number 2 looking for someplace to get a little bite and do a little catching up. But Dennis Jordy's rolling strong in lane number 1, keeping her pretty straight and doing a real good job over there. And Dennis Jordy goes through for the win, beating Mark Winkleman. Mark's about. And the lights are on for a couple of Broncos. John Gaffner out of Wausau in lane number 1. Mark Zabacki out of Merrill in his white Bronco in lane number 2. And both guys looking for some place to get a little extra bite. They're looking pretty even going down through there now. John Gaffner doing a little sliding around, catching a gear there. Watching the exhaust puff out of the side. But John Gaffner going through for the win. Dennis Jordy in lane number 1. Mike Merrill in lane number 2. The guys are off and running. It looks like Dennis Jordy's got a good start again over in lane number 1. Mike Merrill's going to have to do a little catching up in that little Dodge. He did it last time by following a straight line, but this time Jordy's holding real good and seems to be doing a good job in lane number 1. And it is Dennis Yorty going through for the win, beating Mike Merrill. And Dennis Yorty will come around to run John Gassner for the trophy in the last class of four-wheel drive today. And then they're going to plow the lanes before they... And it looks like John Gassner coming out with a real good start. Maybe got a nose out there. But Dennis Yorty's coming on strong. It's going to be who stays the straightest line, I think, in this one. Both guys doing a little slide. And there goes Yorty. Dennis Yorty sliding around. There goes John Gassner sliding. But it looks like it is John Gassner into the snowbank and going through for the win in the last class of four-wheel drive today. Lane number 1 is... Suzuki. Johnny Waller on a 125 Suzuki Merrill in lane number 1. He'll run Leroy Jonas III on a 125 Yamaha out of Wausau. The first race in the small class of bikes today. And Donnie Waller's off and running. Leroy Jonas III didn't come out of the line very good, but he seems to be catching up down there, but it's not fast enough as Donnie Waller goes through for the win. Mark Winkleman in lane number 1 on a 125 Suzuki out of Merrill. Number 2. Mark Winkleman on a 125 Suzuki lane number 1. Jim Morris on a 125 Yamaha in lane number 2. And it looks like a close race. Neither boy getting a real good start. But Mark Winkleman comes through in the stretch. In lane number 1, we got Matt Hall on 125 out of Wausau. In lane number 2, Steve Ball on a 125 Yamaha. Yamaha out of Athens in lane number 2, and Matt Hall coming out hard, getting a real good start. And it is Matt Hall going through for the win, beating Steve Ball. On a 125 Suzuki out of Merrill comes up into lane number 1. In lane number 2 is Steve Ball. In 125 Suzuki out of Merrill. Suzuki in lane number 1. Dave Boyd's going to have to do a little catching up down there, it looks like. But it is Alan Eckert going through for the win. In lane number 1 is Donnie Waller on his 125 Suzuki. In lane number 2, a 125 Suzuki of Mark Winkleman. Mark Winkleman off there again to a little bit of a nose. Let's see if Waller can catch up in the stretch. And it is Mark Winkleman going through for the win. Just got him a spot to run for the trophy because he'll be running one of these coming up with Alan Eckert and a 125 Suzuki. And one of these fellows will be running Mark Winkleman for the trophy in the first class of fights this afternoon. Trying to catch up there, coming out a little bit too hard. Let's see if Matt can catch back up in the stretch. But he couldn't make her. Alan Eckert will be coming around to run Mark Winkleman for the trophy. The next class of bikes that comes up into lane number 1. Mark Winkleman rolling up. A couple of 125s out of Merrill. play catch-up there. He did not get a good start coming off the line. It looks like Alan Eckert all the way, and it is Alan Eckert going through for the win. Looks like Hank Riley out of Athens has got a little bit of a start there. Pat Hayter's going to have to catch up. He came out a little too hard, but Hank Riley is going through for the win. Lane number 1 is Ron House, and a 250 also out of Wausau. And it looks like Ron House got a little bit of a start. He took off to the jump there. Randy Rasmussen keeping a foot down there for quite a while. And Ron House going through for the win. Hayes, okay. Craig Bombach on a 250 out of Schofield. Where's the... Hayes on a 250 Yamaha was over there in lane number 2, for 1 rather. Ron Haas in lane... Roll call 30. And Ron Hayes comes up into lane number 2. Hank Riley is over in lane number 1, running for the trophy. Running against Ron Haas, Hayes Yamaha out of Wausau. It looks like a close one. Bronowitz maybe out a little ways, and it is Hank Bronowitz going through for the win. And the Maple in lane number 2 is Tom Schrader out of Wausau. In lane number 1. Brad Weber out of Schofield. Brad Weber, number 53 out of Schofield on a 400. Coming off hard. Let's see if Brad Weber on that 400 Yamaha in lane number 1 can catch up, and he didn't make her today. Tom Schrader going through for the win. He comes up into lane number 1 in lane is Butch Rosso. Coming out in the high gear, came out slow. Let's see if he's going to catch up to Randy Charneski, who really didn't come out well himself. But it's the tie. Both guys running through for the tie. We want to thank Jerry Bear for coming down today from Bear Beverage, the Anheuser-Busch distributor of Wausau. The guys are getting ready. They're setting their time. The lights are on. Just coming off a little bit stronger this time. Randy Charneski doing a perfect shot out of the hole, coming off strong. Let's see if Butch Rosso can catch him in the stretch, and he does it. Butch Rosso caught up to Randy Charneski and goes through for the win. Bob Sanders in lane number 2 on a 500. Come out of the line pretty good. Let's see if Bob Anchors can catch up down there in the stretch. Tom Schrader is really rolling, and Tom Schrader going through for the win. He'll come around to run Butch Rosso for the trophy. So number 63, Jim Porras, 15 is Louis Hack. 190 Maple up into lane number 1. Yamaha over there in lane number 2. Butch Rosso's got his Yamaha running again. Looks like he's going to take the trophy in his class for the 3rd week in a row, and he goes all the way for the win. Tom Schrader beating out Butch Rosso. Louis Hackbart, 750. That's good in there. $750 value. In lane number 2. Jim Boyd has been with Yamaha. $750 value. Getting a little edgy on the line out of Merrill. Not moving a whole lot right now, but up comes his head. And up comes Louis, so at least he can stand up. It's not all bad. Jim Porras going through for an easy win as Louis Hackbar gets about 50 feet off the line and loses it. Into lane number 1. And in lane number 2, Roger Boyd, another 1100 Suzuki out of one. For an 1100 Suzuki coming out of here, and they come out strong. And Tom Marty going all the way over into the snow, almost losing it coming off the line. Roger Boyd running a straight line, and Roger Boyd going through for the win. He's over in lane number 1. Him in the stretch, and Matt's running hard, and it is Matt Marceau going through for the win. And Roger Boyd brings his 1100 Suzuki up into lane number 1. Waiting for Matt Marceau to make it back down here on that flying 750 Suzuki over here. You'll hear him wind up and really wind on the line. A 750 against an 1100, and Matt will give it a little bit of color. So he's a real strong runner out here on the ice. In lane number 2 is for sale. We have to tell you that, and he's running for the trophy right now against Roger. Getting real close to the snow. Roger Voigt going out a little further and then hanging in there. It's a close one, but it's Roger Voigt going through for the win. In lane number 2 in the black 55 Chevrolet. Ed Livingston waiting for the guys to come up. Rick Weber, Ken Henner, Jeff Martin, David Sheffield, Mike Stone, Dennis Manthai. Livingston 55 Chevrolet in lane number 2. It looks like S55 is also for sale today. Steve DeShefsky having a rough time coming up with a transmission blanket. He's only run here the first weekend. He wasn't up last weekend because he couldn't get a transmission blanket. He's got one today and he's getting his Camaro lined up. spot for that red, white, blue duster to fight into. A good-looking maroon 55. Dennis Krieger sitting over there waiting patiently in lane number 2. And they're sitting in the flag. They're getting the sign. The lights are on. They're off. Dennis Krieger's getting a little start out there, but Kenny pulled a super shift this time, and he's out there running in the red, white, and blue duster. And it's Kenny Henner going through for the win. Lane number 1. And he's running rocking Ricky Weber's rock rod over here in lane number 2. A flying old Chevrolet. This old Chevrolet in lane number 2 came off the rock pile out to the races, and it does a heck of a job. You watch him, he should be a good one. They're getting the Mike Combs is hanging on, and he pulls it out in the stretch. It almost looked like Rick Weber must have in lane number 1. Kurt Manti out of Merrill in this 65, looks like 65 or 66 maybe, 66 Chevy in lane number 2. Bruce Dajewski back though, looking for a little better right. And they get him parked between the flags. Whoops, now we're having a little trouble over here. He can go take off and run. Hopefully show a few taillights to the guy in the lane next to us. Kurt Manti is going to have to really do some running down there at the top end. Bruce Dajewski pulling away in his blue and white Bel Air in lane number 2, going through for the win. In lane number 1, Jeff Martine and his Plymouth out of Edgar. In lane number 2, Steve Holtz in the Primer Nova. And the lights are on. The guys up. Steve Holtz getting a bad start. Let's see if Jeff Martine can take advantage of him. Holtz is coming on strong down through the middle, but Martine is out and running in lane number 1. And it's Jeff Martine going through for the win, beating Steve Holtz. And here's the competition. They're running off 55 Chevy. Ken Henner, who finished second the first week out, had a little trouble last week catching the right gear. And I'm not so sure that that time he wasn't running against Ed Livingston. These guys come out early. They're not running strong. They like to run against each other, and they do have some super running cars. Ken Henner in the red, white, blue duster in lane number 2. Ed Livingston in the black 55 Chevy for sale over in lane number 1. In a second, we got a creep a little bit there. He's getting set back up. Ed's digging down some holes. He wants to come out of some hard ice, so he's shooting a little bit, digging down, trying to find a good place to go from. It's another close one. Ed Livingston pulling it out on the top end, but boy, it was a close run. Kenny Henner coming on. Mike Combs bring that blue Ford rag top out of Westboro up into lane number 2. In lane number 1, Bruce Dajewski in the blue and white Bel Air. Mike Combs pulls it out. the 55 of flying. He's going to have to hang on this time in the top end of the stretch. He's coming back around talking to one of the guys in the pits over there, Mike Toombs, out of Westboro, in that blue Ford. Job this year, right gun to the smooth looking Nova in lane number 2. You can see the movies from the races today at Grand Central Station. Up into lane number 1. That's the Chevrolet Ford Cuda in lane number 1 out of Marathon. In Isabella. And once again, we got some snowmobilers down there on the end. We may have to send somebody down. There is a broken car over in the return lane here. It looks like maybe Tony Ballman did a little damage there to that Merrill when he hit the snow. Barracuda in lane number 1. And it looks like Rick Waynebecker losing it, just running all over down there. And Randy Ball with his 396 Cuda going through for the win. And there goes from the Shell station down there, a record truck to bring Tony Ballman back. Ian Eckerly's blue Chevy crew. Going to be coming up into Dave finished second, the Lloyd run the first weekend out. He didn't have a little bit of luck last week, but he's got a real strong run, little car over lane number 1. The blue Chevy 2, Dave Eckerly out of Merrill. And he'll be running Wayne Point. Mark 1 Mustang out of Hamburg. He's in lane number 2. They're getting signed a set between the flags, the lights. Open it up like you got a blue line. Whoa, I call that taking it out on the car. Wayne Boyd, what you call slightly PO'd there. Did not have that shifter set up quite right. And he's turning in the little hard one over there. No, it's not a dot. Pete Turner is in Buffalo over there in lane number 1. He's got the little vehicle off and flying now. Larry Wayne Becker's trying to catch up, but it's not today. Pete Turner going the win. Jim Clark brings his Dodge up into lane number 1. Over in lane number 2, Kevin Krieger. A Kramer Nova. Dodge coming out hard, but Krieger is on that Nova in lane number 2, and he's flying low. Kevin Krieger going through for the win, beating Jim Clark's Dodge over that was in lane number 1. Some real good fight out of lane number 1. He's coming back here again. Over in lane number 2, looking for some deep. He had enough time to get his car back together there and get it running one more time. What's that hanging out? Does he need that hose hanging out? Oh, that's perfect. And the guys are getting ready to go. They're getting the time to prove up there by the lights. They got him done. It's a close one, but Kevin Krieger goes through for the win. We want to thank the orderly spectators for coming out today. The guys who want to fight can stay home next week. It'll be the 1982 Merrill Ice Drag Championships. Trophies for first and second place next week. Station where we see the ice drag movies after the races. KB Body and Paint, Beacon Bar, Park City Credit Union, Taylor's Body Shop, B&D Motors, Merrill Manufacturing, Livingston's Department Store, Vince Appliance Center, Miller Home Furnishings, John's United Foods, Bruce's Colorado, Russell Round, the Attorneys, Merrill Shopper and Furlough News, Don's Third Street Liquor, Shoulders, Ford Mercury, Bob's Union 76, Schultz's Wrecking, Fowler's Drugs, Regis Riverside Club, First Place Trophy and Award for Wausau. Snyder's Bar, Beer Beverage. Once again, we want to thank Jerry Bear for coming down from Bear Beverage, the Anheuser-Busch distributor of Wausau, Chico's Bar, Fish's Bar, Westside TV, or Chico's Restaurant, I'm sorry about that, Fish's Bar, Westside TV Radio Shack, GGC Auto Parts, Northside Service and Towing, Dice Meat Service, Quality Furnish Shops, Spur Station, Gary's Pine Ridge Standard, Dave's Red Hall, Pine Ridge Restaurant, Merrill House of Music, Dan's Meat Market and Packing Service, Skipper's Restaurant, Cork and Dine, Transport All, Jim's Service, Emet and Sons Incorporated, Park City Liquor. Production Class 2, and please, anybody who has their cars parked up on the road, please get up to your car and move it immediately so everyone else can get out of the park.
If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Thank you.